November is shaping up to be an absolute disaster for Trump and the MAGA movement. And we're going to talk about it today. If you haven't been following the nitty gritty and all the individual episodes we've done covering individual losses that Trump has just been suffering over and over again during this last month, we're going to kind of do an overview of it today. I'm Shant Karnikian. That's Brian Kabateck. This is Civil Action on the Legal AF Network. A reminder to hit that subscribe button if you like this content. Brian has a catchy name for this episode. I can't remember it. So Brian, what do you call this? What do you call
Donald Trump and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad November?
That's great. Yeah. I mean that encapsulates it. Yeah, it is not good. That's right.
I mean, there's a lot to cover here, and I don't think we're going to deep dive into any of this. We're just going to tick them off because it's really incredible. We put together a list. It's probably, no, I can guarantee you, Sean, it's not a total list. Let me be very clear. This is not, but this is
not a comprehensive list. No, this doesn't include everything, probably.
I'll start with some of the electoral losses.
Sure.
And then you can pick it up, Sean. First of all, the two big ones, New Jersey and Virginia gubernatorial races, crushing the Democrats, crushing the Republican, including the Trump-supported candidate in Virginia. It was the first major win by these many points since 1961, biggest Democratic victory in the state since 1961 when I was just a little baby. Then you have the Virginia Attorney General race, which is interesting because everyone thought that the Republican was going to win that because he was an incumbent.
Incumbent got kicked out.
And we get to and obviously the New York City mayoral race. We could talk about that.
Trump couldn't, even the Trump-backed Democrat couldn't even win there. Is that a blessing or a curse when Trump backs you as a Democrat?
Yeah, I don't think you want that.
Yeah,
I think if you're Andrew Cuomo and you got that endorsement from Trump, you were like, okay, well, let me figure out why I'm going to spend the next 4 years because it is a curse being mayor of the city of New York.
Yeah, it's a curse.
Georgia Public Service Commission, first statewide win in a state election by a Democrat since 2006. Pennsylvania judicial races. These were closely watched, by the way, Sean. And, we could kind of make fun of these down ticket races, but this was an important one because Pennsylvania has always been kind of a cuspy purple state, as one says. And then California's Prop 50. That wasn't a huge surprise. I guess what was the surprise is 2/3 of the voters.
I mean, the margin of it was a surprise.
Yeah, and that's what I meant when I said 2/3 of the voters. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear enough for you, Sean.
Yeah. You don't have to be a jerk about it. Yeah. No, but yeah, that is big. It is big. You're right.
And this one I didn't know about. Mississippi, two Republican seats in the state Senate were flipped in Mississippi. That's kind of incredible, right?
Yeah, that's a red state, man. That's not even purple. That's a red state there. Yeah.
I mean, these are off years. They're not midterms, but it makes up part of his awful, terrible, horrible, very bad November. Now we get into the court rulings. Let's go through some of the court rulings.
Shall we, Scott? And there's plenty. And these are some of our favorites. Just this year, by the way, there's been like 100 injunctions entered against Trump stuff, oftentimes handed down by Trump judges. But let's go through some of them. The redistricting attempt, basically what I call Trump's attempt to cheat in the elections through Texas by strong-arming Greg Abbott, a loyal Republican who didn't even want to do it, forced him to redistrict. Courts struck that down. Racial gerrymandering by a Trump judge, by the way, a Trump appointee found that it is illegal racial gerrymandering. Can't do it.
100-page opinion. That's right.
The CNN, one of the CNN defamation cases, Trump sued CNN, loses. The case gets tossed. Defamation case tossed.
There were two Trump appointees on that panel.
Trump appointees. That's right. His own appointees tossed the case. We recently covered this. The New York State Court, or the New York law that protects state courthouses from Trump immigration arrests. That case there was a challenge to that law. Gone. That challenge loses. Trump loses again. Sanctuary rules, basically rules protecting people's access to courts without the fear of being hassled by ICE agents. That rule is protected. Portland National Guard deployment, unilateral deployment by Trump, blocked. That's blocked by a
Trump judge.
Trump
appointed judge. That's
Trump
right.
Judge. SNAP funding, when Trump tried to hold the benefits that many people, some of the neediest people in this country rely on, when he tried to hold that hostage and use it as a bargaining chip during the shutdown. Court forced him to issue over $4.5 billion in food stamp funding, basically. And the First Circuit rejected his appeal of that decision. So he lost there. the NPR funding. Trump had tried to tie up a bunch of NPR funding and try to cancel it for the national public broadcasting to use for their satellites, and that got restored. But birthright citizenship, USAID freezes,
Alien Enemy Acts. The chief judge in Washington, D.C. is now going to hold contempt hearings against the Trump administration. It looks like for refusing to turn the planes, not let the planes take off and had turned the planes around when they were deporting people to El Salvador. That's ongoing. And then we get into some of the problems in the GOP itself, right?
Within, there's trouble at home. They have some dirty laundry.
Indiana refused to redistrict after he wanted them to redistrict according to his plan. They refused to do it. Epstein. Say no more. Epstein was becoming a giant mess, and that is going to be the gift that keeps giving. Yeah,
and the shining star of reasonableness amongst all of this, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Right.
Or as Trump calls her, Marjorie Traitor Greene now. She is now a traitor because she said that the Epstein files should be released, and she kind of criticized Trump's handling of the shutdown.
Word we hear also is that Ted Cruz now wants to run against JD Vance in 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why he's starting to pull off. I think the party members in Congress are starting to realize that supporting him, lockstep is could be fatal. Could be fatal.
Yeah. Like I said, like his endorsement is turning from a blessing into a curse. Sure.
Yeah.
For Cuomo, it's an obvious one, but now Republicans are starting to think that, I got to start distancing myself from this guy. This shit's radioactive.
Trump is urging now in Indiana a purging of GOP members in Indiana who didn't vote for redistricting.
Yeah.
A undersecretary of state is being berated by the GOP because of positions she's taking with respect to Ukraine aid. And then there's election blame going on inside the party about both Virginia and New Jersey. Your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. And then the government shut down. This all happened this month. Let's try to blame the Democrats when, what is it, Shant? Like 2/3 of the country actually recognize that it's the Republicans who were responsible for the shutdown still.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, let's talk about public perception and approval numbers and things like that. I think
and before we even get into that, I think one of them is this. I think there are two events that have happened in the last 24 hours before we recorded this. One is Trump making excuses for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia having a journalist killed.
Yeah. He was a bad guy and things happen. No, it's not something to make fun of. It's deplorable shit.
Although I've said, because the other thing I wanted to point out was Trump referring to a Bloomberg report as piggy. And I think, the truth is Trump would like to have reporters executed. I think, anybody who calls an autocrat on what he's doing is immediately their enemy, right?
Yeah. That's what I found pretty disturbing, that when MBS was questioned in front of Trump about Jamal Khashoggi, his response was he was a controversial guy. A lot of people didn't like him. Things happen.
We didn't even cover, Shant. I'm sorry. Well, just remember, we didn't even cover the oral argument in the United States Supreme Court on the tariffs, which went horrible for the Trump administration. We don't have a final ruling yet, but it seemed to go horrible, right?
Not looking good. No, not looking good. all of this sort of culminates with him having a 36% approval rating, the lowest since he's been back in office for his second term.
And I've often said there's about 30 some odd % of the people in this country who think he's the second coming. And when you start to lose them, you know that the end is near. I don't think he's lost them yet. I think they're still very much on his team. But some of this stuff is, I think there's a huge backlash that's going on this month with respect to immigration. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah. I think you're starting to see the tide turn. We recently covered an immigration agent who was arrested by local authorities for how he treated an American citizen, when he held someone at gunpoint where it wasn't warranted. And you're starting to see that in other places too. You're starting to have Republican lawmakers that even disagree with how the Trump's immigration tactics are being employed. that's a problem. That's a big problem for him. And I mean, none of this is shocking, right? This is all stuff we've said that this is terrible. This is deplorable. This is anti-democratic. This is anti-American. It's just taking a little bit of time for the MAGA world to kind of catch up and realize, oh crap, yeah, they're right. This is not good. We didn't ask for this. Did we vote for this? Did we vote for, women and children?
You can't take your foot off the pedal. I mean, you can't take your foot off the pedal on getting this information out. That's what we try to do. We do this because we want people to tell their friends and neighbors. We want them to tell people who, see the problems already, but don't understand the depth of them. And we want people to tell people who, might think that he's the second coming, that what the truth is. And getting the truth out there is really important, because you can't, like I said, take your foot off the pedal on this. So that's my last comment.
Yeah. Look, I think there's a few takeaways here that, these losses these aren't flukes. These aren't isolated incidents. When you have them this consistently, it's sort of it's a snowball effect, and it's all these chickens are coming home to roost. And the other takeaway I think is the MAGA movement is now terrified of 2026. This isn't going to be just like losing some power, losing some seats. It's going to be like a wipeout scenario for them. So, we'll keep monitoring this.
As long as we don't take our foot off the pedal.
That's true. Like part of it is being aware of all of this and having this be out there in the forum, the public forum being discussed, sharing this type of content, talking to people about it, being aware of it, because this affects people's everyday lives. So much so that even folks on the right, extreme right are starting to look at this and go, I didn't want this. I didn't vote for this. This isn't American. This is anti-democratic. And that's kind of what we've been saying all along. So, I'm Shant Karnikian. That's Brian Kabateck over there. If you like this content, if you like our program, Civil Action, you like Legal AF Network, hit that subscribe button. Share this with folks, whether they're politically aligned or they're on the other side or they're somewhere in between. We hope you find it useful, and just spread awareness about these issues. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.